Not entirely sure what the point of this video is. In fact, I'm not even sure what the point of this repair is. But after a couple of glasses of Johnny Walker Black Label, my friggin' CFL light, which is a Philips, where the brand is, it's a Philips light, a Tornado, there you go, probably won't see it in this light, decided not to work anymore. Well, instinctively, because I know these things have a circuit board, I pulled the light globe out and I gently tapped it on the bedside table, because this is, you know, it's used in my bedside lamp, because I thought maybe it's a dry joint. Well, I put it in and sure enough it fired straight up. So it was a dry joint, so I pulled the board out and, you know, I slightly damaged the insulation on that inductor, 2 millihenry inductor. If it's going to focus, please focus. But that's not really a problem, it's like just damaged the very outer piece of insulation. It's not like it's, you know, gotten into the coil of wire. But anyway, the components are, you know, they're sort of neither here nor there, they work. Now, I'm using a really crap soldering iron. It's like, you know, it's just a corded, you know, barbed wire style soldering iron, and it's 25 watts, and, you know, everyone starts out with one of those. But hey, I don't do electronics work generally, so there's no point in me buying an expensive iron. And when I do need an iron, I use a butane one because it's usually heavy wiring and shit. But this is after I've resoldered it, and I know the joint's awful if it's ever going to focus, but nothing could possibly compare to what was already there, so I figure I've done at least better than the manufacturers. There we go. It's better than what was there. I know it's not pretty, but at least they're all mechanically secure joints. I don't think I've forgotten any. But it's surprising how crap they were. There was bugger all solder on these joints, and there was one that was really obviously a dry joint. Like, it was cracked around the perimeter of this joint. So I'm going to put it together and see if it works. It might just explode and go bang! I hope not, after all this stuffing around. The other thing is these wires are in close proximity in this light fixture, and I don't know if they've been stripped of their enamel or what, but I might solder them onto the pins on the board, because if it doesn't work after this, I'm going to peg it in the bin. So I'll put the board in and then shoot another bit of video, I guess. Well, I've got this circuit board reinstalled. It's twisted these wires back on reasonably well. I don't know if they're enamel wires or not. I would have thought that it'd have to be enamel copper wire, so I would be fairly tempted to try and solder this wire on, because I don't see how that would make a good enough connection if they are enamelled, because they don't look like they've been cleaned. So I will see. 90% sure the wire they use from each end of this light tube is just enamelled copper wire, and I'm also 90% sure, in fact 100% sure, they never bothered to strip back the enamelling off the wire. So I'm not exactly sure how it was supposed to make contact, because when I tried to solder it on, it clearly wasn't just bare copper wire. So I'll solder the lead wires back into the cap of this, which is sort of a bit haphazard. I'll try and get this blobs of solder off, and try and get these wires to poke through a bit, because I don't really like the idea that they mightn't be soldered in well. So it'll probably go bang when I plug it in. Oh well. I've managed to get the blobs of solder off the end of this cap. A couple of blobs of solder on the curtain, but you know, don't tell anyone. Anyway, solder can just be removed half the time. Okay, no it can't. Oh well, never mind, it's there permanently. And on the computer chair. Chair's shit anyway. So I'm going to try and get the leads to poke through. Well, I've clearly got the lead wires to poke through this compact fluorescent light globe, and I don't know how they did it originally. They probably just sat it out there, but I'm just going to bend them both over with the intention that I'm going to get enough solder on there and these wires won't be the things that end up contacting the pins of the light globe socket. So You know, I don't like the idea that they'd be just sticking out, so flattened them out. So I'm going to solder these on and put it in one of the light fixtures and see if it goes bang or not. Well, I've got the cap of this light, CFL light globe, whatever you want to call it, soldered on. There's probably a lot more solder than there ever would have been on this, but yeah, they always like to skimp on the solder, so I'm not going to say it's, it's still a bit warm. I'm not going to say it's effective until it goes in a light and it actually works, so I guess I'll just pull this light globe out of this fixture and I'll just substitute it for this one that I've just repaired. Well, maybe repaired. Well, I'm really just expecting this light bulb to go bang because, well, you know, it's dodgy in the first place. So if it goes dark, you'll know why. It's just going to do nothing. Not sure why. Maybe it's got something dodgy in there. Be a bit of a shame, but anyway, it's probably why people throw these things in the bin normally. That's interesting. That's what it was doing originally. I don't know, maybe some components, or maybe the tube's just, I think the tube's just knackered. I think the tube's no good. There we go, the tube's no good, the filament's gone in the tube. Well, yes, it sort of works, but anytime you turn it off and back on, it probably won't start back up. Now, anyway, pointless video about a pointless device that stopped working pointlessly. So there you go, it's not going to work now. So I wasn't able to repair it, but well, now you guys have seen one pulled apart and then put back together again. Well, thanks for watching. Of course, the reality is that this is a real man's light globe. It's an Osram light globe made in Australia, and you can't see the text there anymore, but it advertises itself as it's 240 volts, 100 watts, and it's gas filled. In fact, they even have selected some really cool looking typeface. This particular light globe is extremely old. This came from the ceiling cavity of the cinema I work at. The building's from the 30s. I actually donated some switches to HDXFH from that particular building, and they were from 1936 or something. I think Larry said was the date on it. But anyway, this is a light globe that was actually brand new in a sleeve that was in the ceiling. So this is a piece of artwork, and you're probably not going to. There, yeah, it might be better, but you can see it's extremely old and it was brand new in the ceiling. So, you know, they don't make light globes like that anymore, just about anywhere. So it's actually fairly large. This is for display only. I've got no intention of using this. Two reasons. One, it's 100 watts. Forget that. I'm not paying to run that thing. The other thing is they're not that reliable. As in, you know, for example, there was probably about 8 garbage bags worth of these light globes up there, so, you know, CFLs are rubbish up to a point, but yeah, these things weren't really that much more reliable, but they are a thing of beauty, whereas a CFL's a piece of garbage.